It's 7 o'clock with the latest BBC News for Oxfordshire. I'm Sophie Law. Thousands of schools are facing further disruption as teachers strike again over pay, including some here in Oxfordshire today, after National Education Union members walked out in the north on Tuesday and the Midlands yesterday. Today it's the turn of the south and London. These parents and carers outside Bishop Loveday Primary in Boddicott have told BBC Radio Oxford they're finding ways to cope.
It doesn't really impact me. It's more if you're working, aren't you, arranging childcare, so that's where grandparents step in, I'm guessing. There's plenty of notice at the end of the day.
They give us notice.
Yeah.
Not just that, and you are allowed to have some of the children in, aren't you? Some of the classes are still open.
Yes.
It's not completely shut.
The Education Secretary Gillian Keegan says the government's made a serious offer to leaders of the NEU and it's disappointed the union hasn't called off strikes as the Royal College of Nursing did.
Good morning, it's 7:17 for your 2nd of March World Book Day today. Enjoy it if you're maybe dressing up, but tricky because, of course, no schools. So teachers across Oxfordshire on strike today. How are the childcare plans going? I hope you've managed to cope and sort this out. It's the second round of industrial action by the National Education Union in this long-running dispute over pay and conditions. An estimated 200,000 teachers are walking out this week, with the strike action staggered over 3 days. And today it arrives in the south. There was a rally, you might remember, in Oxford on the last day of the strike, 1st of February. Our political reporter Claire Starr was there.
I mean, I've worked in education for the last 10 years and I think we're at a point where our class sizes are bigger than ever. Schools run on goodwill. That's why I'm here. Schools run on goodwill from good people, and I would say we work more unpaid hours than any other profession, and it's got to stop.
The number of conversations I've had with the parents of children who, when they hear about teacher pay rises, are utterly unaware that they are unfunded. So that every pay rise that a teacher gets, under inflation pay rise that a teacher gets, is unfunded. So the school's budget essentially is cut in real terms year on year, and that has a direct impact on the kind of service we can offer to their children, and it's not okay.
What impact is this lack of funding having on teachers and students?
So I think the kind of systemic strain is felt by everybody in terms of the work being kind of increasingly difficult, more and more strain on systems, more and more strain on people, and that results in people leaving the profession, and we've seen the retention stats there. And I think it's really about the impact on teachers and therefore students, and the concern of what that means for the future of our country, really.
So why did you feel it was important to be here today?
Because I think we need to raise awareness of these issues, and we need to make clear that issue about unfunded pay rises. I don't think people really understand the impact that is having, and even that is happening, and therefore the impact that has on kids and on the system.
So schools are out today. The Education Secretary is Gillian Keegan. She says it's unforgivable. Children deserve to be in class, especially after the pandemic. There's a lot on pandemic and education in the Telegraph this morning with these leaked WhatsApp messages, but we'll park that for a moment. Here's what the Education Secretary had to say in Parliament this week.
I made last Tuesday a serious offer. The government made it to the National Union of Teachers and the Royal College of Nursing, and it was a serious offer to pause strikes, get round the table and to come in and to talk about all of the issues that were part of the dispute. The nurses have taken up that offer. They've been in discussions ever since then. The teaching union has not.
Well, we'll be live on the picket line at Windmill Primary School shortly to speak to teachers and see how they feel. We've been speaking to parents and carers, meanwhile, outside Bishop Loveday Primary in Boddicott.
There's plenty of notice.
And you are allowed to have some of the children in, aren't you? Some of the classes are still open.
Yes.
It's not completely shut.
But then you get the other side when you've got two children, then one's at school and one isn't. That can cause huge implications.
I suppose that does make it difficult. But
they've got to make a stand, haven't they? Really,
they have.
Yeah, I think the biggest impact really is just with your working commitments and having to juggle things around. So I'm in a place where my wife happily can work from home at the moment, but I work in retail, so I have to go in, and I don't always have the luxury of being able to help out at home, which is it does turn things upside down a little bit. It does cause some disruption.
As a parent, do you support the teachers' strikes today? Maybe as a grandparent as well, if you've had to step in and help. Do you support the teachers? I'm on 0808 100 9100. George Buchanan teaches at Cheney School in Oxford. He's also a rep with the union that's called today's action. Good morning, George. For you personally, why did you decide to go on strike today?
Oh, good morning to you. The reason we're going on strike is because the working conditions that are won by workers today are going to be felt by workers in the future. Students are not naive. They know that they're going to be the workers of the future. So any gains that we make will be felt by them. We owe it to students to go on strike in order to get the best working conditions for them.
I'm sorry to sound like a teacher, but you didn't really answer the question. That doesn't explain why you, George. What's the one reason? What's the one thing that you're fed up with?
The person I'm fed up with is the conditions in which students have to learn. You know, given that teachers are so pressed, so demoralised, so underpaid, this is reflected, mapped one-to-one on the conditions that students have to learn in. It would be better for students not to have to learn under such conditions.
So you can't do your job properly because of the pay and the conditions. That's the reason for you today.
That's correct.
Right, got it.
Yeah, and then that is reflected in the student's experience, isn't it?
Has anything changed since the first walkout in Oxfordshire a month ago?
Nothing. Nothing's changed. So I know that the government made an insincere and, delaying tactic offer, but so nothing has changed. We continue to go on strike until our demands are met.
Last time around, we had around 30 picket lines outside schools across Oxfordshire. Can you give us any idea as a local rep of the support this time around? Is it about the same, less, more?
I expect it to be about the same. I haven't got any real reason to think it would be more or less.
And the disruption that this will cause today for parents, for businesses, if you've got to go to work today and you can't get the time off, you're desperately trying to pay your astronomical bills at the moment and you haven't got that childcare support, a lot of people are in this situation. What would you say to those parents?
You know who to blame. It's certainly not the teachers. It's the government who are refusing to come and negotiate seriously with the teaching union.
Gillian Keegan says a serious offer was made last week to your leaders at the NEU, asking you to follow suit with the Royal College of Nursing and call off the strikes and get around the table. Why was this refused?
I mean, so teachers are asking for an above inflation, fully funded pay rise. Okay, it's not an unreasonable thing to ask for. Teachers deserve to have their standard of living not be cut by inflation. And so to offer, what was it? She offered 3%. That's nothing close to the rate of inflation that we've experienced this year. That's not a serious offer. A serious politician would make a serious offer. That's not a serious offer.
George, thank you very much. You'll be on a picket line all day today, will you?
I'll be on the picket line in the morning, and then there is a rally in Reading.
All right. Thank you very much. George Buchanan, teacher at Cheney School in Oxford and an NEU rep. Once again, I'm just curious to know whether you support the teachers or not all of this today. 0808 100 9100 and good luck with that childcare. My son's off today, but thankfully he's a little bit older and can look after himself, but very tricky. If you haven't got that support, if you haven't got neighbours or friends or grandparents who can step in, and you have to go to work because if you don't, you won't earn money, and you've got bills mounting, what are you meant to do today? And of course, the knock-on effect of businesses when they're told this crucial member of staff isn't coming in, very, very difficult today. More coming up, 7:25 right now, and we'll be live at Windmill Primary School speaking to teachers on the front line there on the picket line in a little while.
David Prever's Breakfast Club. BBC Radio Oxford.
There's more on education on the front pages this morning. To do with the pandemic, it's the lockdown files. They've got 100,000 leaked WhatsApp messages, most of them from Matt Hancock, but to pretty much everyone in government. And today they're focusing, and this needs to come with a caveat that, of course, a lot of this is taken out of context. And there is the inquiry that's begun into the handling of the COVID pandemic going on in the background. But today it is about education. Matt Hancock mounted a rearguard action to close schools, the paper says. This is the Telegraph. Despite Sir Gavin Williamson battling to keep classrooms open. And there are some fire exchanges between the then Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, and Sir Gavin Williamson on this, all in the newspapers today. Some quite heated stuff. There's something, as I said earlier, about reading what would have been encrypted WhatsApp, private WhatsApp messages in a national newspaper that is intriguing, whatever your politics in all of this.
It's 8 o'clock with the latest BBC News for Oxfordshire. I'm Sophie Law. Teachers in Oxfordshire walking out again in a row over pay today are defiant there's no other option. They're joining an estimated 200,000 across England and Wales involved in 3 days of industrial action by members of the National Education Union. George Buchanan, a teacher on the picket line at Cheney School in Oxford and an NEU rep, says nothing's changed since the first walkout and teachers shouldn't apologise to parents and carers who've been disrupted by the action.
You know who to blame? It's certainly not the teachers. It's the government who are refusing to come and negotiate seriously with the teaching union.
The Education Secretary, Gillian Keegan, says the government's made serious offers to leaders of the NEU and it's disappointing the union hasn't called off strikes like the Royal College of Nursing did. We've been speaking to parents and carers outside Bishop Loveday Primary in Bodicote to ask how they've been coping.
It's not been too bad for me, but I know it has been for people I know who work.
I'm a grandparent and we'll be having our 7-year-old all day Thursday to help out my son and daughter-in-law who both got to work.
The second round of industrial action by the National Education Union in the long-running dispute over pay and conditions. An estimated 200,000 teachers walking out this week over 3 days. Today it arrives here in the south. Dan Freeman's on the picket line outside Windmill Primary in Headington. Morning, Dan. What's the situation there? How's it looking this morning? Well, I can hear.
Morning, David. Yeah, hell of a din these guys are making here outside Windmill Primary School. I've been here about an hour and numbers have just continued to grow. I'd say there's around about 20 teachers, TAs, and there's even a couple of students out here at the moment as well. And they've been getting the attention of pretty much everyone that's gone past here. There's placards, mainly the sort of, the school crossing ones with stop underfunding on. 1 in 4 teachers leave within 2 years, says one. We love our schools, says another. 23% fall in recruitment, says another. So the guys here at Windmill Primary School are certainly making their feelings felt. And here's what some of them said to me earlier.
I feel really, really sad because I thought we won't be doing this strike. Obviously, I want to be in the classroom. I miss my kids. They are sad that I'm not there. However, I do feel that our story is terribly misrepresented at the moment by press and by what we hear. Yes, there was a pay rise which came from a school budget, and that means that now we don't have enough support workers, we don't have enough resources, and that means that we teachers who got the pay rise, we now need to buy resources for school like pencils and pens, and that kind of is not what the press is saying and what we hear on telly. We love our school, we love working here, we've got a fantastic head teacher who is completely behind us, but we don't have money, and if you don't have money to buy resources, if you don't have money to pay for support workers, that all the children in a class suffer, and the money the government says that they give us, they're not really a real money, they're money taken from the education of our children.
How do you feel at the moment, if you wouldn't mind letting me know? How do you feel?
I'm just angry at the government for underfunding schools is the big thing for me, but also for TAs. They do a really difficult job and they support us extremely well, and they are underpaid and there isn't money in budgets to give them what they deserve.
How do you feel at the moment? Sum up your feelings this morning.
In all honesty, I'd rather be in school teaching, but I think this is the right thing to do because I'm concerned that the budget that we have as a school is shrinking in many ways as the cost of living rises, particularly energy costs. And I have a job to do to help children the best way I can. And if we don't get more money from central government, it comes out of my pocket. And I can't afford to do that.
Because there are people here that can't be here today, if you understand what I mean, that would want to be here but can't be here because they can't afford to have the day off.
Yeah. There are many of our colleagues who are inside school today who support us, completely support us, and they will come out briefly and stand on the picket line with us, but then go back in and teach for the day because they simply cannot afford, for whatever reason, to be here. And as the strike continues, our numbers are going to dwindle because of the cost of living, particularly in this city, because it's so expensive to live in Oxford.
Dan Freeman asking the questions there. Joining me now, Ben Habbershaw, one of the teachers at Windmill Primary there on the picket line this morning. Good morning to you, Ben. How do you justify the disruption that this is causing today for parents and for head teachers as well, of course?
We justify it by saying that this will have a beneficial effect for exactly those people. For this generation and future generations, it will make a real difference if we can get proper funding for schools.
Your boss, ultimate boss, Education Secretary Gillian Keegan, says it's unforgivable. Children deserve to be in class, especially after the pandemic. Have a quick listen. This is what she said in Parliament.
Made last Tuesday a serious offer. The government made it to the National Union of Teachers and the Royal College of Nursing. And it was a serious offer to pause strikes, get round the table and to come in and to talk about all of the issues that were part of the dispute. The nurses have taken up that offer. They've been in discussions ever since then. The teaching union has not.
What would you say to that? If the nurses can take up the offer, why can't you and your colleagues?
The offers are different. The offers are not the same, and it's unforgivable that she will not give schools the funding they deserve and have been asking for over 10 years. This is a gradual creep on our budgets that has reached ahead with the pressures of cost of living and, all of the other world events that are going on. But in the main, it's 10 years of the stripping of budgets from schools, which has just reached a real head at the moment. And it's unforgivable that she should not renege and give us the money, to give the schools the money we need to operate fully and give our children the best education that we possibly can. Spend a bit of money now and we can produce 2-3 generations of children who are really highly skilled, brilliant learners, brilliant pupils, brilliant people, and we're really finding it more difficult to do that in this climate.
How are you explaining this to children? I mean, some of the younger ones probably don't understand, but those, certainly the year 5s and 6, they'll get it, won't they? How are you explaining what's going on today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we use lots of teaching tools in the classroom to make children aware of social issues, various social issues, things from racism, bullying, homophobia, LGBT things, and Newsround is an excellent portal for that. So most classes watch Newsround each day, listen to and discuss the news. Sorry, the party next to me is slightly distracting. Through that we've been able to use that as a starting point for our discussions, and I think the children understand exactly why we're doing this. On the 2 next planned strike dates, my class swim on a Wednesday, and if I were to strike on that day, they would miss their swimming lesson and the parents would suffer the cost of that. So I will not be striking on that day so the children can go swimming. I'm not going to prevent them from doing something which could save their or someone else's life. That's the way it is, really.
Thank you very much. Good to speak to you, Ben. Sounds like you got a carnival on the picket line.
Thank you, David.
This morning.
Yeah, there's a lot of music going on. Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, that's outside Windmill Primary. Thank you very much, teacher Ben Habbershaw.